Welcome, welcome. And I'm so glad you're enjoying yourselves. This is perfect. This is exactly what we want for a night like this. We want old friends and new friends to spend time together. We all have that shared Murray State experience. It's the reason we're here tonight. And like somebody said just a little while ago, all good things tonight, right? All good things. So I'm so pleased that we're gathered. You know, in 2019, we had to cancel the Distinguished Alumni, or 2020, excuse me. We had to cancel this event, and then last year it was virtual. So it's been some time since we've been able to do this, and I really appreciate all of you that have come out tonight and made it a priority to be here. Many of you were here for lunch today. We honored some Golden Horseshoe Award winners and a distinguished presidential fellow during lunch today, so we'll talk a little more about that coming up later in the program. You all cleaned up nicely in the 4 hours since I've seen you. Well, welcome again. Of course, the first thing we want to do is provide a warm welcome to our distinguished guests, our distinguished alumni, those among us who have made themselves distinguished among their peers, professionally, personally, in their communities, at the state level, at the local level, and at the national level. These alumni are the top of the bunch, and they're here tonight for all of us to honor them, and I can't wait for you to meet them if you haven't had the chance to get to know them already. I want to welcome you, distinguished alumni. I'd like to welcome your guests, your family, your friends who have joined us tonight, taken the time to travel, some from far distances, to be here in your honor. Welcome to the finest place we know. We're so glad to have you all here. Now, before we eat, which we're going to do, I know we're hungry, and the food looks gorgeous. The salads are beautiful. How about that chocolate cake? Ugh. We're going to have a few words before we settle in for our meal. I'd like to, very first, welcome up to the podium our 14th president of Murray State University, a 1985 alumnus of the institution, Dr. Bob Jackson.
Carrie, thank you. And when I got here, Carrie handed me 3 different pages of notes and said, can you cover all of this? So I will try to, and if I leave anyone out, because I have several people I want to recognize, I apologize in advance. But most importantly, welcome. As Carrie said, this is the first time in 3 years we've had an in-person Distinguished Alum event. And we're going to come back to that in just a second and recognize a few folks that were virtual last year that we want to point out as well. But this is one of our favorite events. We get to recognize distinguished alums from all over the country, and we get to hear from them and their stories, and be examples for all of us for the years to come. So this is also our centennial. So this is a special class of distinguished alums, a centennial class. So once every 100 years, Harold and others, we get to pick. Leader Rudy, once every 100 years. So I'm not sure in 100 years that many of us will, I will not be here, I assure you of that. Hold your applause for one moment. I want to recognize several folks that are here that are important to this university for many different reasons. And I'm not going to call out each individual name, but by group, and I'd ask you to stand. I want everyone to see these important individuals, these important groups who do so much for this university in many, many different areas. First, our Board of Regents, our governing body of this institution. So Chair Eric Krigler, Vice Chair Dr. Don Tharp, in all regions. If you could stand, I want us to give you a round of applause. Also, the Foundation Board of Trustees. So I had the honor of working very closely with this board for many years, and now Dr. David Durr is the president of the foundation, and I tell him often it's the best job on this campus, and working with some really, really good and generous people and who have helped this institution for a long time. Our foundation was formed in 1946 and have added great value for many years. But Dr. Jerry Schroet and all the trustees, if you could stand so we could recognize all of you, please. And also, our Board of Governors, our Alumni Association Board of Governors. They do so much for this institution and have for many, many years. Our President DeVentry, Amber, if you would stand, and we'd like to recognize you, and any member of the Board of Governors, if you would just stand up so we could see you and recognize and thank you. My wife Karen is here. Most of you all know her quite well, so she is here, and I appreciate, and I know we appreciate all Karen does for the institution. This is probably the fifth event of the week for her, and there's more this weekend and more next week, and we appreciate all that Karen does for the institution as well. So last year we were virtual, and we still had a distinguished alum event. And we recognized 3 distinguished alums last year. Melissa Collins, a 1999 graduate, Dr. Bonnie Higginson, a 75 and 78 graduate, and Judge Alan Stout, a 1978 grad. And I want them to stand up, but before I do that, Judge Stout, has talked for the last year about he didn't even get a piece of cake. And some of you may have noticed I just gave him my red velvet cake, which I love. So he has 2 pieces of cake now, but I'm kidding the judge, of course. We're very proud of this group. And if the 3 of you, I think 2 of you are here, if the 2 of you would stand up, because we recognized them last year. It was virtually done, but this is a proper recognition. And Dr. Bonnie, please stand up, and we want to see you. Thank you.
Congratulations, Alan, on being a distinguished alum. I said, thanks, I appreciate it. I got this really beautiful crystal plaque here that's got engraved on it, my name and everything. It's real nice. And I said, I'm still waiting to get, I figured there's a cash stipend that goes waiting for that check to come. And he said, Alan, it doesn't work that way. He said, to those who are much is given, much more is expected. He said, you just need to up your ante.
You know, Joe is a wise man. So each distinguished alum in just a few minutes will be formally introduced about Carrie, and you'll hear from a bio on each of them. You'll hear from the individuals, and I'm looking forward to that very much. But just a little flavor of what's to come. We have a world-class educator that we'll be recognizing tonight, a nationally known philanthropist, a Racer Football Hall of Famer, a nationally recognized financial services executive and foundation leader, and one of the most influential legislative leaders in Kentucky, and a young alum who has a resume longer than most twice her age. So these individuals are here. We're proud of each and every one of them and what they do and what they mean to Murray State University. And let's give them a round of applause, and then we'll eat. Thank you all for being here, and it's good to see everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. I'd now like to welcome our president of the Murray State University Alumni Association Board of Governors, Amber DeVentry, to bring welcome on behalf of the MSUAA. Amber.
Welcome. A word derived from the Greek, a noun meaning desired guest. You are a distinguished alum from all the years, COVID and now. We welcome you. You know, Webster defines distinguished as to treat differently by making a mark. It defines it as quality. That's who you are. Tonight, we celebrate you. Whereas we also celebrate Murray State University turning 100. As Dr. Jackson mentioned, most of us, hopefully, won't still be around for the next 100 years. But think of the impact. Think of your contributions. In those 100 years, Murray State University has graduated thousands of students. We've had hundreds of records. We've set them on any of the athletic fields as well as the academic fields. We've added programs. We've added regional campuses. We've built buildings. We've torn down buildings. We've built more buildings. The campus, clubs, and organizations have grown. All of that comes back to you. Without you coming in as students in whatever year, in whatever capacity, whether that's as a first-time freshman, as a graduate student, or as a transfer student, everything that Murray State University is today is because of you. Now, I know that we are in a mixed room, but I want to just kind of share this little piece. Scripture tells us that Jesus told his disciples to go, or his followers rather, to go and make disciples. So whether you're a believer or not, you as alum, the stories you tell, the way you carry yourself, the contributions you make locally, nationally, and just right here at in your own little communities, you gain followers. Those who've never heard of Murray State, in my times here, we had people who had never been in the state of Kentucky. Those ripples, those impacts, they make followers. Again, it all comes back to you. Now, I'm not comparing any of these distinguished alum to Jesus, don't get me wrong. However, I will say that, again, we are here because of you. Without alum, there is no alumni association. Without alums, there are no more buildings, there are no added programs, there are no additional funding. Thank you. Where's he in the back? Alan, there's no additional funding for all of the extras and the specials. So I say again, welcome on behalf of the Alumni Association. I wholeheartedly believe that MSU in her 100th year and beyond will continue to wear the mark of distinction because of you. So welcome.
Thank you, Amber. Thank you very much. Amber, the president of the Alumni Association, and tomorrow in our meeting, she will have to give up that gavel, and we will have a new president of the Alumni Association, Gail Rogers, the First Lady of Murray. Gail, where are you? There she is. She will take over as the president of the Alumni Association during our meeting tomorrow, so we're excited about that, and Amber has done a tremendous job serving the Alumni Association. I know you were all hungry. A couple of quick thank yous. We want to give notice to Mr. Brent Webster, our favorite guitar faculty, who's been playing a beautiful guitar for us. We'd like to thank Racer Dining for the meal that they've prepared for us tonight, which we know will be delicious, and they've worked so hard this week for many, many events, and so they do a tremendous job, and we look forward to all that they've put forth for us tonight. Before we eat, why don't we just take a quick moment of silence? We'll take a moment of gratitude and a moment of reflection so that we can be grateful for the meal that's about to be put before us according to your own beliefs. Now, before we spend the next little while getting to know our guests of honor, I'd like to take just a couple of moments to congratulate a group of alumni and one special friend who were honored earlier today in this very room for their tremendous volunteer efforts in support of Murray State University. During our Centennial Awards luncheon today, in this very room, Dr. Bob Jackson presented Village Medical Primary Care Chief Medical Officer Dr. Bob Hughes with a Distinguished Presidential Fellow Award for his tremendous guidance and leadership in support of Murray State University's pandemic response over the last 2.5 years. I don't think Dr. Hughes is with us tonight, but if you will, please give him a round of applause for that wonderful honor. You can only imagine what it must have been like to turn on a dime again and again and again for 2 years running in support of our students and the health of our community. It was a tremendous undertaking, and he has done a wonderful job on our behalf. We also awarded today during lunch 9 Racer alumni with the highest honor that the MSUAA bestows for volunteer service to the university. That is the Golden Horseshoe Award. Now, if you will, those of you who were honored today, if you will stand when I call your name and hold your applause till the end, let's go ahead and recognize them again. Our Golden Horseshoe recipients for today were Ms. Pamela Stocks Butler, Dr. Melvin Henley, Police Chief Jeff Lyles, Mr. David Moss, Mr. Ronnie Pryor, Dr. Jack posthumously and Mrs. Janice Rose, and Mrs. Betsy Schroet. Let's give them a round of applause. Tab Brockman, how does one skip over you of all people? Stand up, Tab Brockman. I don't know how I missed you. Tab Brockman. Woo-hoo! Thank you, David. Thank you for having my back, as always. I appreciate it. We are so proud of all of them and all of the work that they've done on behalf of this institution. They have worked incredibly hard, and it was so fun to honor them today. So let's get to honoring this group of distinguished alumni, shall we? We're going to start this evening with our 2022 Distinguished Young Alumna, Marla Moore. Marla found her passion for design during her time at Murray State, both through her classes and through her involvement on campus. Part of the honors program, student council, the Murray State Design Group, All Campus Sing, Hester Residential College Council, and Omicron Delta Kappa Honor Society. And her involvement on campus did not stop once she graduated. Moore has returned to Murray State teaching lettering workshops and serving as a guest lecturer in design. As a matter of fact, just today, she was in classrooms with students, talking with them about her incredible career and how they can get there one day too. While her interest in art and design was sparked at a young age, the inspiration behind the lettering and type design that is inherent to Marla's work began in 2010. It was during a student trip to Nashville with Murray State University graphic art professor, Mr. Jim Bryant, for the annual American Institute of Graphic Arts think tank. Not only did Marla have the chance to hear one of her role models speak, a well-known American lettering artist, illustrator, and author, but she also came away with the man who is now her husband, Casey. So it was a win. It was a good day. It was a good day. We're figuring it out, yeah. Throughout her young career, Marla has already worked on major creative and design campaigns for several leading corporations. Some you may have heard of: Amazon, Redfin, and now Buck, the global creative company behind international brands like Meta, Apple, Google, where she currently serves as creative director and head of strategy for Buck. Now, at some point tonight, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Amazon, Marla, the buy now button. It's not good. It's not a good thing. My husband will tell you it's not a good thing. Marla, congratulations. I will welcome you to provide some remarks.
Hello. I am truly humbled by this honor and grateful for the opportunity to be back at Murray State for its centennial. I cherished my years here in the design department and the honors program, and often reflect on the lessons, both academic and otherwise, that I learned from the likes of Jim Bryant, Warren Edminster, and so many other students and staff. But while I could speak ad nauseum about my time here, my years of pitching and working in the fast pace of global tech implore me to keep this short and snappy. So here it is. I offer you the 3 directives to follow that I follow every day to learn and grow each day of my life, born from my time here at Murray State. First, make moves. Whether they're cross-country to take a risk to advance your career, or simply stepping outside of your comfort zone to broaden your abilities and perspective, always keep an eye on what that next move could be. Second, stay curious. Learning didn't end for me when I left this school, and one of the largest lessons that Murray State teaches is to always ask questions and dig deeper. Getting to the heart of why people do, say, and believe what they do. That's what drives my work day over day. Finding and tapping into those commonalities that cross culture and forge human connection are what fuel the systems and brands that I design for every day. And finally, the third, be kind. More so than ever before, it is so imperative to be kind. The studies abroad that Murray State afforded me taught me how to step outside my culture, outside my perspective, and outside of myself to practice empathy and always strive for understanding. Make moves, stay curious, be kind, and at the end of the day, don't take yourself too seriously. Thank you again for having me. Congratulations to the distinguished alumni this evening, and enjoy your evening. Go Racers.
Congratulations again, Marla. I'll tell you a little bit briefly about how the Distinguished Young Alumna comes about. We have at the Murray State University Alumni Association a Young Alumni Network. It's what we call an affiliate network of the MSUAA. And the Young Alumni Network each year gets to work soliciting nominations for the top 22 under 40. Now, why 22, you ask? Well, it's our centennial. Some do the top 40 under 40, some do the top 30 under 30. We decided to change it up, go with 1922. So we picked the top 22 under 40 each year. And among that top 22 under 40, selected by a committee led by President Christian Barnes of the Young Alumni Network, of that group, one is selected as the Distinguished Young Alumni Award recipient. And this year, that award went to Marla. So I hope next year, sometime between now and the end of 2022, you'll nominate a young alumna or a young alumnus. What is young, you're asking? I'm glad you asked. I am not. I no longer meet my own criteria. Young is considered somebody who is under the age of 40 and graduated within the last 10 years from Murray State University. So be thinking about that. If there's a young professional in your orbit that you think might benefit or might be a great addition to our top 22 under 40 for 2023, I hope that you'll nominate them on our website. For Nancy Gibbs Becker, Murray and Murray State University have always been home. She grew up just down the road from the university and was impacted by many people, professors, and organizations on campus. According to Nancy, it was a philosophy professor who influenced her to think about who she really is and what she wanted to be as an adult when she left this campus. She found her love and passion for theater and Shakespeare, attending drama and acting classes at Murray State, taught by a professor who encouraged her to join the university's theater club, Sock and Bustin'. Nancy knew she wanted to continue her passion for theater, and after working in the political realm in Kentucky and Ohio and eventually D.C., she left that world behind to move to New York City. In the Big Apple, Nancy worked to establish many leading cultural and educational organizations and programs, including the Beethoven Society, the Shakespeare Society, an annual spring fundraising event in support of Link Up, which is a children's music program at Carnegie Hall, and the Roundtable Cultural Seminars, a nonprofit continuing education organization for adults on the Upper East Side of New York. She also served on many boards, including Master Voices, NYC, for 18 years, the George London Foundation for Singers, and the American Guild for Musical Artists Relief Fund. Nancy's extensive service and philanthropic work has not been limited to New York City. She is a consummate supporter of Murray State University, providing transformational gifts to this university, to university libraries, to WKMS, various scholarship funds, and most recently, much-needed improvements to Lovett Auditorium. In addition to her financial support, she serves as an advisor for Murray State's annual Shakespeare Festival within the Department of English and Philosophy. I introduce to you Distinguished Alumna of 2022, Nancy Becker.
First of all, I want to thank the Alumni Review Committee for honoring me this evening with this very prestigious award. And I want to thank the remarkable Tina Bernat for having proposed my name for their consideration. It's hard for me to believe that a few decades have gone by since I graduated from Murray State. A lot has changed here, changes that have propelled Murray State's reputation into national recognition and high regard for the extraordinary educational institution it is today. However, there are some things that have not changed, and those are the things that I hold dear to me from my days here as a student. Murray State's unshakable dedication to providing the best and most life-enhancing education for students at a reasonable cost. It's fostering and promoting among its students an awareness of civic responsibility and its belief that students should strive and have goals and excel in achieving them. Although I've lived over 50 years of my adult life in New York, I always knew where my roots were. I've always been very grateful for having grown up in a town where I could attend the amazing Murray Training School and go on to further my education here at Murray State. I have always been grateful for the wonderful teachers and professors who taught me, many of whom have left an indelible impression on my mind. And I've always been grateful for those individuals who urged me to be and do more than what I thought I might. During the years that I was away from Murray, I made countless trips here to be and visit with my Kentucky family. But there was no visit that was ever complete without a walk throughout the campus, where I could revisit Pogue Library, Lovett Auditorium, Rather Hall Museum, all of which brought back wonderful memories to me. For this, I say thank you, Murray State, and to all those associated with it in the past and today. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you so much. And you're surrounded by your Kentucky family, 3 brothers in attendance tonight with you. That's wonderful. Harold Doran began his journey with Murray State at a very young age. Much like Nancy, he grew up just a few blocks away from campus, attended first grade at the university's training school, swam at Carr Health, spent much of his life attending Murray State events. As an undergraduate finance student, Doran was involved in leadership roles in the Judicial Student Board, the Lambda Chi Alpha fraternity, and other campus organizations. After earning an undergraduate degree at Murray State University and then an MBA at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania, Harold returned home to Murray to help run the family business, People's Bank of Murray. He became the bank's president in 1988. Throughout his career, Harold has served in leadership roles at the state and national level, including as chairman of the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority in Frankfort for 7 years, as chairman of the Diabetes Research Institute Foundation based in Miami, Florida for 5 years, which I know he's incredibly proud of. He also continues to prioritize his service to alma mater. Harold served as the president of the Murray State University Alumni Association, Gale, in 1994, and served on the MSU Foundation Board since the year 2000. He's currently vice chairman of the Foundation Board and chair of the board's Joint Investment Committee, which will meet tomorrow morning, bright and early. Congratulations and welcome, 2022 Distinguished Alumnus Harold Doran.
Don't worry. Jerry Schroetz told me when I hit 30 minutes, he's going to stand up. I do have a few things to say, though. First of all, I'd like to thank the Murray State University Alumni Association for this award. I'd like to congratulate my fellow award winners. My connection to Murray State began 63 years ago when I took my first college class at Murray State University. Nobody's laughing. This is an easy crowd. I like this. It's true, but there's a little more to that story. And I'm going to try to tell three quick stories tonight. I marched onto the campus in 1959 as a first grader at Murray Training School. Great school. The Gibbs were all in it, the Schroets, the Dorans, we were all there. Great little school. One of the wonderful things they did in the first grade is they marched us over to the Car Health Building and taught us how to swim, which was pretty amazing for a school in rural Kentucky. We went to Rex Alexander's swim class. Rex and his students taught us how to swim. And as you do with swimming lessons, you learn the basics, and then you get to the point where you jump off the side of the pool where your instructors are standing in front of you. And so Rex had the students lined up in the shallow end of the pool. We were going to swim across the short end. And you jumped in, and they had their arm up, the students, so you grabbed that arm, and they'd walk back across the pool, and you were kicking, but you were swimming. Well, we queued up, there were about 25 of us, so the first time I queued up out in front of Rex, he had all his students, but he was the last man in line because he was 6'4" tall. He was in the deep water. And the students were like in 3.5 feet of water. Pretty easy. So I'll never forget, I was standing there, I was looking down at the pool. I thought, man, this is deep. It's 5.5 feet deep. I'm not even 4 feet tall. But there was Rex, and I knew Rex. His son and I were best friends. I spent the night at his home. Rex let me drink chocolate milk. He was really, great guy. So I thought, piece of cake. So even though it was deep, I knew Rex would take good care of me. So I jumped off the side, came up, grabbed for his arm, no arm. No Rex. Rex was backpedaling across the pool about 30 miles an hour saying, come on, put your face down and swim to me. And I was like, I don't know how to swim. So anyway, I clawed, I kicked, I swallowed, I spit. I called for Mama. I don't know what I did. But I went about 5 feet and had kind of headed out to the deeper water. And I think he kind of came over then and grabbed me for a minute and then said, all right, you ready to go again? I said, sure. So anyway, long story short, I finally got to the other side. He said, good job. And I got out of the pool and thought, man, you got a low bar. Good job. So we kept progressing, and I found out I was making more progress out with Rex than I was with the students because they were so sweet to us little kids, they didn't want anything to happen to us. Rex wanted you to learn how to swim. So one day, I knew what to expect now. I was out in front of him. I just jumped in, and I swam across the pool. And now, it may have taken about 2 minutes, and it may have looked like a mule swimming across, but I got across. And I'll never forget, he came over to me and he said, great job, you're a swimmer now. Man, I jumped out of that pool, puffed out my chest, strutted around that pool. I was already thinking, I'm going to be on the next episode of Sea Hunt. or scrap that, I want to go be the next Tarzan movie. I do remember that Rex was a great teacher. He must be a good teacher. 63 years later, I'm still swimming in Murray State pool. But the thing I took from all that is I loved college. It was great. In fact, we had moved houses during the year, and my mother told us that we were going to have to change schools. So I just assumed I'd be enrolling at Murray State University. But she said, no, Mr. Big Britches, second grade Carter Elementary for you. But I wanted to get out there. And being a Murray kid, I grew up 2 blocks off the campus, and we were out on the campus all the time. From the time we could ride our bikes over, and everything in Murray kind of happened out at Murray State. We go to the baseball games and go to the football and basketball games with our parents. And I had a friend whose father had a key to Car Health, and we would go over and play basketball. 5 of us, 15 of us, 25 of us, however many guys got the word. And it was just a wonderful place to grow up. I did finally enter Murray State in 1971. I had a great time at Murray State. I loved Murray State. I was in a fraternity, about all I'm going to say about that. But you learn a lot of things outside the classroom as well as inside the classroom when you're at university. I met a lot of wonderful new people, made lasting friendships. I really did grow up, learned how to think, organize, plan. It was a pivotal time in my life. I had several eureka moments of thought where you're just, something just comes to you like a light goes off in your head. Usually these were in accounting or econ or something sequential in nature where you figure something out. And I learned that I love to figure things out. My last eureka moment of thought came in my final semester at Murray State, my senior year. I was trying to get into the Wharton School, graduate school, and they didn't require, but they strongly recommended an upper level math class. Well, I'd had math since I was a freshman, but I really wanted to get in this school. So I, on my application, said I will be taking a 400 level calculus course. And I wasn't bad in math, but these math kids are smart. I mean, I was in there with math kids and me, business guy. So somewhere in the course, I ran aground. We hit differential equations, and boy, I didn't get it. I didn't see it. It made no sense. And I was coming out of class one day, kind of shuffling down the hall, thinking, "Oh, woe is me! I'm gonna blow my GPA. I'm not gonna get into graduate school." And Harvey Elder comes up from behind, math professor Harvey Elder, sweet Harvey, taps me on the shoulder. "How's math class going?" "Harvey, I don't get differential equations." "What? You can't differentiate? That's not hard. Come on with me." So he grabbed me, took me down to his office. I'd never been in a math professor's office. Really cool. They got their own little blackboards in there. So he had me, like any good math teacher would, at the blackboard, spoon-feeding me differential equation problems. Somewhere in this process, bam, a light went off. I saw it. I understood it. Harvey was right. Differential equations weren't hard. Now, the story here is not that I was dumb enough to take this 4-hour math class my final semester. I mean, I was going to skate out of this place. I think I had to give up bowling to take this class. And the story was not that I couldn't get differential equations. Guilty. The story was Harvey Elder. Harvey Elder was not my math professor. I had never had Harvey Elder in a class at all. Harvey Elder saw a student in need, and he did what teachers do. He taught me. And I think about I kind of bookend my pedagogical experience at Murray State University from the beginning to the end, starting with Rex Alexander, ending with Harvey, my last eureka moment. And I had a lot of wonderful professors and staff help along the way. But I think these two gentlemen, and by the way, they were both distinguished professors at this university, but I think they both embodied the faculty and staff of this school. They took a personal interest in me. They helped me learn what they were charged to teach. They wanted me to come out of this place stronger and better than I came into it. And I think because they both knew me, there was an expectation on both their part in me. And I think that in a lot of ways is the hallmark of this institution. A student-centered, high-quality faculty and staff at Murray State University. It was then, it still is today. My last important encounter with this institution came when I was a 27-year-old alumni. I was sitting at my desk at People's Bank, minding my own business, get a phone call. It's Tommy Coyle, my pledge trainer from Lambda Chi Alpha from Carlisle County. Tommy works for Congressman Carol Hubbard in D.C. H, you dating anybody right now? Well, hello, Tommy. Right now, I'm in an intense affair with People's Bank of Murray. No, why do you ask? Well, there's a girl from Murray up here this summer working for the congressman. She is the real deal, the total package. She's coming back to Murray in a few days. You need to ask her out. I said, Tommy, if there was ever a guy that needed and deserved the real deal and the total package, it's yours truly. What's her name? Kelly Williams. I said, now, Tommy, You lived here 4 years. You know Murray's not that big. I have never heard of Kelly Williams. He said, oh, no, she's from Murray. Gave me her phone number. It did have a 753 prefix, so okay. So after I hung up, I did a little research. There was a Kelly Williams in Murray. I did not know her because she was 6 years younger than I was. So, you know, when you're in college, you're not going to date a high school girl, but when you're 27, knocking on the door 28, that time gap kind of, okay. So I called. I didn't get her, I got her mother. And I never talked to a girl's mother about asking her out. It was just, anyway. I didn't know if Barbara would tell her I called or not, and I sure didn't know if she'd call me back. But she did. We went out on a date. Less than a year later, we were married. 40-plus years later, 2 wonderful children later, 2 scrumptious grandchildren later, that has proven to be the best and smartest decision I made in my entire life. And I owe that to Murray State University. So Murray State has played a role in my life from the beginning to end. It's been very good to me. I've been very lucky, fortunate. I got to go into a family business with my father, my brother, and actually my mother. We were in a business where we could help people and you could see the fruits of your labor. That was pretty cool. I've been on a lot of boards, civic and corporate, locally, regionally, statewide, nationally. Met a lot of great people, smart people, successful people. Have to say, though, the best board I've ever been on is the MSU Foundation Board. It's truly a national board. Great people, successful people, all on it for the same reason, to give back to this institution that's given so much to them. So I close out just saying that Murray State's 100 years old, and I've been thinking about this. I've known 11 of the 14 presidents of this institution. Worked with 10 of them. I didn't work with Dr. Woods because I was just a kid, but I knew him. But Murray State just came through probably the best legislative session in the history of the school. Over $100 million. By far the best. And, you know, things like that don't just fall out of the sky. And I've told my wife and children for 30 years, leadership or the lack thereof always shows up. And Murray State University is very fortunate to have a leader in Bob Jackson. So I appreciate your attention. I hope Jerry didn't have to stand up. But I'll just close by saying that there's a stanza in our anthem, Murray State, the finest place I know. It is. God bless it. Thank you.
Thank you. So well said. Appreciate it very much. You know, I think luck has a lot to do with a lot of things, doesn't it? And it was very lucky that you happened upon Harvey in the hallway that day. I have been volunteering a little bit as a good Methodist with the Wesley Foundation here on campus, and today I got a text message from one of the students at the Wesley Foundation, and she said, I have 3 problems in my math class that I cannot figure out. Here are some screenshots. And so I stopped and I looked at each one, and then I promptly wrote back, wrong number. Fortunately, I found out it really was the wrong number. Her tutor's name is also Carrie, and she picked the wrong Carrie. But I had a moment of sheer panic, I am not gonna lie. I said, you are barking up the wrong tree, sister. This girl cannot add and subtract. So it's great, thank you so much. Robert Bud Foster played football as a starting freshman through the late 70s and into the early 80s here at Murray State, winning an OVC championship as a player. After graduating in 1983, Hall of Fame racer football coach Frank Beamer recruited Foster to be a part of his coaching staff. Foster and Beamer coached together for 3 years, winning an OVC championship in 1986. That same year, Beamer landed the head coaching job at Virginia Tech and recruited Foster to come along with him. Foster experienced great success at Virginia Tech under Coach Beamer. Bud and Beamer won their first bowl game in 1993 against Indiana at the Independence Bowl, marking the start of a 27 bowl game winning streak. Bud became later defensive coordinator, and his success continued. He's coached in 27 bowl games, a national championship game, and the Division I AA playoffs. Respected as one of the nation's top coaching minds and one of college football's most decorated defensive coordinators, Bud was the mastermind behind Virginia Tech's famed lunch pail style of play. The lunch pail served as a visualization of the Hokies' grit, the mentality they used to separate themselves from their opponents, and Coach Foster's blue-collar approach to defense. His love and care for his players can be seen through their accomplishments, with 4 NFL Pro Bowlers, 3 Super Bowl champions, and 45 players selected in the NFL Draft, all under his watch. After more than 3 decades on the sidelines for Virginia Tech, Coach Foster currently serves as the assistant to the institution's athletic director. He said his career success could never have happened had it not been for Murray State's impact on him as a young man. He attributes much of his academic success to the College of Education Human Services faculty and Physical Education Department head Chad Stewart, who believed in him and taught him the importance of prioritizing his education. He also contributes a lot of his coaching success to those who he coached with and under at Murray State, especially Frank Beamer. He is unfortunately unable to be with us tonight because he is, lucky guy, on his way to the Virgin Islands. And he did send us, I know, oh, right? He did send us some remarks via video for you tonight.
I'm sorry I can't be with you all this evening. I'm extremely honored, and I'd like to thank the Murray State Alumni Association for this tremendous recognition. I'd also like to congratulate the other distinguished alumni recipients. This is truly a tremendous honor. I'm not going to be long, but to receive a recognition like this, you just don't do it alone. There are several people I'd like to recognize because without them in my life, I wouldn't be here today. First, I'd like to thank my family. I've had great support from my mother and my father. I still remember the day my dad dropped me off in Murray in early August in 1977. He was dropping me off for my first day of fall camp before school started, but that was an exciting day, and that was a day that changed my life. But they were extremely supportive of my pursuit in athletics and of my career, and I couldn't thank them enough. I'd also like to thank my wife and kids. As a coach's wife and as a coach's family, they make tremendous sacrifices. Dad is not home on a daily basis. He's on the road recruiting and away from the house quite a bit. But they have always been extremely supportive, and I can't thank them enough for being in my corner all these years. I'd also like to thank the many coaches at Murray State and at Virginia Tech, my teammates, the players that I coached both at Murray and at Virginia Tech, and all the support staff, because all of them made this possible, and I wouldn't be here without them. And I'll say this, I learned a little bit of everything from all of them, and the relationship I made there will last a lifetime, and I'm extremely appreciative. I want to go back to my freshman year for a moment. You know, I came in here in 1977. I made the travel squad my freshman year. I was a backup strong safety, and in our first game we were playing Southeast Missouri State University, and all of a sudden the senior starter gets hurt, and then Bud Foster is kind of thrown in the fire. And that happened for the next 3 years, and it was had a lot of fun and had a lot of success. But that first year was a challenge. I was not the best student athlete at the time. I was a little bit of a wild child, so to speak. Now I'm starting as a freshman. I thought I was the big man on campus, and my academics were not a priority. I was kind of spiraling down an aisle, so to speak, that I didn't want to go. But I want to credit 2 people that showed me and prioritize what was really important, and really kind of saved my life when it was all said and done. But those 2 people are Dr. Chad Stewart, who was the head of the phys ed department at the time, and Dr. William Presson, who was my advisor, who I took several classes with. But those guys changed my life. Football was great, and I was associated with some outstanding leaders. But these two men really took me under their wing. They really taught me how to become a student athlete, how to prioritize what was important, to be responsible, to be accountable, and take care of business. And I can't thank those two men from an academic side. They taught me so much, and those were the experiences that I took and teaching my future players from the standpoint of it wasn't just coach speak when I talked to them. It was actually my own experience, and I didn't want them to go down that same path. But those two men, particularly from the academic side, had a tremendous impact on my life. I'd also like to thank another guy that really influenced me and me at Murray State, but also obviously had a big impact on my career, and you all know who he is, and that's Frank Beamer. Frank's in the Hall of Fame at Murray State. Outside of my parents, had the most influence on me in my life. He took me under his wing as a coach, was my mentor, but really showed me how to treat people in a professional way, and that good guys can finish first. And I owe a lot to my career because of Frank Beamer, and I want to thank him publicly, and he's been a big part. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize my teammates and thank my teammates. I had some of the best times of my life here at Murray State. They too had a big impact on me. Those relationships, those people, they helped mold me and my future. I am who I am because of my experiences at Murray State, and I'm extremely thankful for those relationships and those experiences. I've followed and supported the university both academically and athletically over the years. I'm proud to say I'm a Murray State alumnus, and I'm proud to say I'm a racer. In closing, again, I'd like to thank you for this tremendous honor. I'm looking forward, hopefully, to getting back soon. My schedule obviously has not been conducive to getting back to any football games for the last 35 years, and I'm looking forward to getting back and seeing everyone. Again, congratulations to the recipients. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and thank you again so very much for this tremendous honor. Go Racers.
And now I'd like to welcome Murray State Board of Regents Chair and Racer Football Hall of Famer himself, Eric Krigler, to come forward and formally accept Coach Foster's award on his behalf and share just a couple of his fondest memories of his time on the gridiron with Coach Foster. Chair Krigler.
Don't worry, I won't start doing too many football stories up here. I'll go pretty quickly. Coach Foster has just a tremendous amount of respect among his industry and among his peers. I could talk about that. I mean, in the College Football Hall of Fame, Frank Beamer is in there, and actually the rules state you have to be a head coach to be inducted in there. And there's actually when Bud Foster retired, there was talk of trying to change the rules to be able to put him in the Hall of Fame. But when I spoke to Coach Foster, was congratulating him about this award, what he really wanted to hammer home was anytime I'd start talking about all the various awards he had won and so forth, he really just always brought it back to the relationships that he had with his players and so forth. And so I'm just going to tell you a real quick story about my relationship with Coach Foster and his impact on me just really quickly. I met Coach Foster in December of 1984. He was a junior football assistant coach here at Murray State, and I was a senior in high school, about a month removed from losing the state championship, and I wanted to play football in college. And I thought I'd maybe go to Western Kentucky because my parents and sister had gone there, but the coach didn't call me back, and I thought, well, maybe I'll walk on at the University of Louisville, but again, I couldn't even get in to speak to a coach, and I was sending film off and so forth. And so I say this because eventually I met Coach Foster. And there was no pressure on Coach Foster to come and recruit me or, what happened to that Krigler kid or did you go to Ballard? I mean, he could have just as easily gone and grabbed a cup of coffee or gotten on the road because it was a long trip back to Murray. But he came in and spent some time to me. And it's the first time that I'd ever heard of Murray State University. And he said, Eric, I've been watching some film on you. And we'd like you to come to Murray State. I said, wow, that's great. And he said, I guess you could really help us with our GPA. And he didn't really say that. I just thought it was a better story if he did. What he actually did was he kind of walked up to me and was kind of trying to gauge how tall I was, and he put his foot next to mine, and he actually did say, well, son, one day you may grow into your feet. And I was an offensive lineman, so I did grow into my feet, and I kept growing, unfortunately. But anyway, Coach Foster, he was going that extra mile. I was a walk-on. It wasn't something that I wasn't a highly prized recruit. He comes back and he reaches out to Phil Bryan, who at the time was in charge of financial aid, and says, well, okay, we got this kid from Louisville, and he's got these grades, he's got this test score, what kind of scholarship could he get? And Coach Foster tells me, and I do some math and figure out I can afford to come to Murray State and play football for about 2 years. And that's the time I have. And I come down and I visit Murray State. It seems like it's on the other side of the world for me, but Bud Foster and Frank Beamer treated me with the same respect that they had for the people that they actually wanted to come and play for them. And so I ended up coming and having, as good a college experience as I could possibly have, and have just a love for Murray State. Because of that, I married this little Murray girl that I met, and to this day, most people in Murray still know me as Ouija's husband. Even, if I'm on the board of Regents, you played, whatever, you're Ouija's husband, and that's okay. I met her. I show up as a walk-on, and I leave as an NFL draft pick. And it really all comes back to the opportunity that Coach Foster and Coach Beamer gave to me. And that's not an unusual thing that they did. Carrie mentioned all the NFL players, and those are dreams coming true for all those players, right? And there was dozens and hundreds of other players that Coach Foster gave the opportunity to play college football, to help direct them towards a degree. Many of these student athletes are the first ones in their family to graduate from college, and so it can be a generational change for a lot of these folks. And I know, he spoke about it a little bit, teaching responsibility and just the kind of lunch pail work ethic and those types of things. So I know that the players that internalized his messages are better men, husbands, fathers, better people in their communities because of the impact that Bud Foster had on their lives. And so when you look back at his 40-year career, he was the elite of the elite professionally, and at the same time, he was able to have a lifelong impact on literally hundreds of student athletes along that time. And so I would say that's a very distinguished career and quite worthy of this award. I'm honored and privileged to accept this award on behalf of Coach Foster tonight.
Thank you, Chair Krigler. I appreciate that so much. And it's funny, when you walked in tonight and I saw you, I thought to myself, oh, good, Ouija's going to be here. Tell her we missed her. For Kentucky State Majority Floor Leader Stephen Rudy, Kentucky Agriculture and Murray State University are part of the family tradition. Rudy's two brothers also attended Murray State. Matt Rudy graduated in 1997. Jeffrey attended for 2 years, but ultimately earned 2 theology degrees from Asbury University. A Ballard County, Kentucky native, Stephen Rudy has been an elected member of the Kentucky House of Representatives since 2004 and has served as House Majority Floor Leader for more than a year. Prior to that, Stephen oversaw matters pertaining to the state budget as chair of the Appropriations and Revenue Committee. It's important for Murray State University. At the height of the global pandemic, Stephen remained committed to seeing the Commonwealth through the complexities of a shutdown, focused on an intentional approach to spending, while still ensuring that federal COVID relief funds got into the hands of Kentuckians who needed them. When he's not in Frankfort, the leader can be found back home in Keville, Kentucky, helping to operate the family business, Rudy's Farm Center, a second-generation agriculture and industrial supply store. He was honored by Murray State University's Hudson School of Agriculture, Dean Brannon, in 2019 as a recipient of the Outstanding Agriculture Alumni Award. Welcome, 2022 Distinguished Alumnus, Leader Stephen Rudy.
Thank you for this honor. It truly is an honor to get this recognition and to be up here on this, behind this podium tonight that so many other awesome individuals have been, and just to receive this honor means so much to me. Brought my bride Jessica with me tonight. I'm glad that she's here, as well as my parents, Jack and Jeanette Rudy. Our younger brother, who was mentioned in the bio, is the pastor over at Murray Methodist. He left the family business. He only works 1 day a week, as most ministers do. But I'll be honest, I didn't want to go to Murray State. I didn't. And I'll tell you why. Because my older brother went to Murray State and majored in agriculture. And I knew if I went to Murray State, I was going to have to major in agriculture. And every teacher I had ever had since kindergarten at Bandana Elementary called me Stephen. Every single one of them. And I knew when I got to Murray State, it was going to be the same thing. Stephen. And never once in all those years growing up was I ever rude to any of those teachers that did that, because my mother did that too. So I couldn't hold the teachers to a higher standard than I could my mother. I was always polite, and I never ran down Matt's name. But I want you to know, when little brother got in politics and people started calling him Stephen, he was quite rude about it. And we have to work on that, because in the house, Mary Beth and Kenny, we run every 2 years, and you can't afford to make anybody mad. They have short memories, but we always are coming around. But when I got to Murray State, and it was by accident that I got to Murray State, or divine intervention, however you want to look at it, but that's a whole nother story. As many of the stories at Murray State that happened here, I cannot tell tonight because my mother and father are here. But when I got here, I remember going into Oakley Applied Science and seeing a sign on the wall that rang so true and really is true. And it wasn't on any professor. It wasn't on any. It was in the office of the secretary, and she had a sign on her wall that said, "Students won't remember what they're taught. They'll remember how they're treated." And you know, you can learn a lot and you can experience a lot, but how you treat others is so very important. And I'm in a business where we don't treat each other the way we want to be treated. The political field that I am in, more often than not, it's gotten pretty mean, and everybody's, oh, we're so divided. I want you to know we've been divided since this country started, so don't lose hope. I still believe in the institution. But it is a truly contact sport. In 2004, when I was elected, went to Frankfort Didn't know a single member of the General Assembly except for Ken Winters, who I met on the campaign trail that year. We were both freshmen together, and it was interesting that we were in a freshman class together. He was, on day one, appointed Senate Education Chair and was in the majority and had a big influence and a big say on what went on in Frankfort. I was a member of one of 41 in the minority, the youngest, the second from the bottom alphabetically, so the lowest in seniority of the 100-member body. And I looked across that august body and thought, how in the world did I get here? And nobody wanted to meet with me. Nobody wanted me to be there. I would roam down to the second floor of the annex, out of the smallest office in the annex in the corner of the fourth floor, which today I'll have you know, I went up there 2 weeks ago to look. There's 2 filing cabinets in my first office now. They don't even put people in there. But I would wander down and I'd try and just get a glimpse of Ken Winters or one of the celebrities. And I did get to spend many hours with him, but even more with Miss Shirley, who was always there at his side and a true partner. And I want you to know, you never had a finer public servant for this region than Ken Winters. But we would strategize and we'd work, but eventually I would move my way up in seniority and then Kenny Imes came along and he started serving in the House. He replaced Melvin Henley, who was also a freshman with me, and we served diligently in the minority. And then one day it all flipped, and the 100 years of Murray State, it was all under one control of one party in the Kentucky House of Representatives, all flipped in 2017. And our 2016 election, in 2017, Kenny and I were sworn in the majority. We were both committee chairs. He came back and ran for county judge and sent the true better half of the team up to serve in Frankfort, and she's done a great job. And we did have a great session. We had a very, very great session, and I will be glad to talk about the intricacies of House Bills 1 through 10 to anybody who would like to hang around and hear me deliberate on all those priority bills, all 10 of them that became law this session, if you want. But the most important of all of them that we did was House Bill 1, which was the budget. Now, as majority floor leader, which now that I have worked my way up to, I'm in a caucus of 75. And I think Senator McConnell, who's often talked about being majority leader, hits it on the head. It's a lot like being the groundskeeper at a cemetery. You're over a lot of people, but not a one of them's listening to you. So, as we struggled through the 60-day session to get all 10 of those priority bills plus 200 bills also to the governor's desk, and we set up meetings, and I constantly tell myself, it was 3 weeks into my first session before somebody actually wanted to meet with me in Frankfort. Now they want to. I have to set up meetings every 15 minutes. Jordan and Dr. You got double booked. That's how you got 30 minutes. That way we can get 4 in an hour. And it has completely changed. But I remember Dr. Brannon was the first person to come to Murray that actually wanted to meet with me and asked for an appointment. And I was willing to meet with him for hours because nobody else wanted to talk to him. And it was 3 weeks into the session before we ever had our first meeting. But I have tried to remember that as important as the institution is, and I believe in the institution, I am just here but for a short time. And I want to make as big an impact as I can for Western Kentucky in this short time. And it is all the counties of the Jackson Purchase. It is Murray State University, the economic engine of this region. Folks, Frankfort for years, they've treated us all in far western Kentucky as the same because we're all the same to them. We're all 4 hours away. They don't realize that Murray and Mayfield are two different communities. We have got to stick together as a region, and we do have a great team, and we are proud. There's two things this year that I was very, very excited about. To finally, after decades of budget cuts, to be able to reinvest in Kentucky and into Murray State and into our communities. And that was great that we got to do it. And one of those two things I got to see done with help of people like Mary Beth Imes and others. Plus, I get to override all the vetoes, which that's the really cool thing. I'm the guy that gets to make the motion to override those. But I got to do that a lot over the last few weeks. But the other thing that I was really excited about, and I was bragging about to all my friends, I was so proud of the NCAA selection committee because finally we were going to get to play the Cats. Finally. And then the Peacocks messed it up. But it was okay because the first game was on Thursday and Murray won. So Friday, before we adjourned during motions, petitions, and communications, Mary Beth and I let the entire House of Representatives know that we were proud to be from Murray, the best basketball team in the Commonwealth. And thank goodness we were off the following Monday, so everybody had forgotten it. But, folks, it is truly an honor to be here. Thank you so much for this recognition. Thank you, Mayor, for your help in getting me nominated for this. Jordan, for yours. I appreciate the honor. I will clear out many of the awards that I've won over the last few years and gladly display this one and proudly, even taking down that Morehead State hat that my former professor and president of Morehead State gave me. We will gladly replace it with some Murray State paraphernalia. Thank you all.
I asked him when he got here, I said, wow, you've had a busy couple of weeks. And he said, oh, you know, passing billion-dollar bills one day and slinging garden hoses at Rudy's Farm Center the next. It's the story of my life. Thank you. Our last honoree tonight is someone who I am blessed and proud to call a friend. Dr. Alicia Young's journey at Murray State began before she first stepped on campus, when longtime journalism and mass communication professor, department chair, and fellow Hopkinsville native, Dr. Bob Doc McGahey, reached out to her personally in hopes of recruiting her to Murray State. Doc McGahey's kindness and compassion gave Alicia the courage to step out on faith and enroll. Soon after her first semester, Young decided to get involved across campus, joining Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, many of your sisters joining you tonight, and Voices of Praise. She credits that involvement for many meaningful relationships and lifelong friends with whom she still spends time today. The majority of Dr. Young's career has been spent in higher education. A Hopkinsville native, Young began as a communication instructor at Hopkinsville Community College more than 30 years ago. She moved up through the ranks as academic division chair, associate dean, chief academic affairs officer, dean of academic affairs, and ultimately assumed the role of the institution's president in 2017. Under her leadership, Hopkinsville Community College has strengthened existing partnerships and forged new business and industry relationships to provide real-world, hands-on experiences for students in fields like allied health and career and technical education, among others. She's expanded dual credit course offerings under her leadership within the public school system, created new certificate programs, and increased apprenticeship opportunities for students. In an effort to remove barriers to the educational success of students at Hopkinsville Community College, Dr. Young has also overseen an increase in what we call wraparound services available to students, including the new Pathfinder Food Pantry, the Good Family Student Emergency Fund, and a laptop loaner program. Dr. Young has served on the American Association for Community Colleges Board of Directors and as a trustee for the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission. She recently won the National Council for Marketing and Public Relations District 2 Pace Setter of the Year Award And in 2021, the Hopkinsville Christian County Human Rights Commission awarded the Standard Award for Excellence to Dr. Alicia Young. We want to welcome you today, our 2022 Distinguished Alumna, Dr. Alicia Young.
I'm humbled and honored by this award and by the recognition. To think that I am doing anything that someone would want to recognize and honor is just mind-blowing to me. I do give credit and I do give praise, I do give glory, and I do give honor to my Savior, Jesus Christ, who for me is the very reason that I exist, the very reason that I am here. I have a similar story in that I was headed to a different institution, but one of my cousins who's here with me tonight said, you know, you're talking about journalism, you're talking about communication. You might ought to give Murray a look. And I thought, oh, okay. I guess I could. And that's when Doc McGahee reached out to me. And one of the things that he said to me was, I take care of my own. And that he did. I was so grateful for the opportunity to not only meet him, but to actually work with him because he worked so that I could become a student worker in the office with him. And so I got the opportunity to interact with him on a daily basis. And my life has truly been impacted by him. For those of you who know him or who knew him, you know that that was quite a treat. I heard a lot of laughter during during dinner this evening at the table where some of my family members and friends are seated. And that would not have been anything different except for I heard my name and I figured they were talking about me. They reminded me of how cheap I was when I was in college. My husband mentioned that did not stop during the college days. My cousin shared with me about how I used to call her and say, hey, you got 50 cents for a soda? Or, I know you really want to take me to lunch today, don't you? And of course, I own up to that. I was a struggling college student. But I really am grateful for the connections, if I have to sum it all up. I'm grateful for the connections that were made at Murray State University. This is a very fine institution. Dr. Jackson, you all are doing great work. I implore you, I know you will, to keep up the great job. When I wanted to attend Murray State, as I mentioned, it was in Mass Comm. I wanted to be the next Oprah Winfrey. That was my dream, my goal, my desire. The thing that drew me to her was the way she was able to help people and the way she was able to impact lives. That was something I thought I wanted to do. And from my perspective, God blessed me with this voice, so surely he wanted me to use it for that. Upon graduation from college, no one would hire me in journalism or radio, TV broadcasting. Didn't understand that. But that was because God had other plans for me. Never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that I would be in higher education, but that's where the doors opened. And so I obeyed and I walked through those doors, and I'm so grateful that I did. It wasn't until recently that I realized that while I was not the next Oprah Winfrey, internationally known and extremely wealthy, my dream was realized in that the role that I get the opportunity to play now, I do impact lives. And I am so extremely grateful for that. It's a beautiful thing to see people come in shaking, nervous, afraid, entrusting you with their dreams, their hopes, their goals, and allowing you to help them walk through the path to reach that dream and that goal. There is just no other feeling like it. It is extremely rewarding. And when I look back at my time here at Murray State, really it all began here, because one of my first mentors that I ever remember was a faculty member, a Black faculty member from Murray State University that took me under her wing and helped me to walk through, much as you have described before me, helped me to walk through and navigate this process that was so very new to me. So to me, I'm humbled to be here tonight. I mentioned to someone I'm going to hurry up and take my award before they wake up in the morning and realize that perhaps they made a mistake. Because from my perspective, I'm just an individual that's trying to do the very best she can at what she's been called to do. There are two words that are very simple, but I speak them and I mean them from my heart, and they are thank you. Thank you to the Alumni Association. Thank you to anyone who had anything to do with me being here tonight. Dr. Kevin Felton, who was led to nominate me, I'm so grateful. Thank you to my mom, who's here with me tonight, to my husband, to my colleagues, to my family, to my friends. It is just so heartwarming to know that I have people that have traveled for hundreds of miles just to see me here. And these are people that believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. I became a faculty member, and you have papers and things to grade, and we were on a trip, a couple of college buddies and myself, and we had gone into Wilson's Leather, and I was eyeing a briefcase. It was so sharp, I thought, and they said, buy it, and I'm like, oh no, I can't afford it. I can't get it. Maybe some other time. Before we left the mall, they approached me with this huge package that said Wilson's Leather on it. They pulled out that briefcase and they said, we want you to have it because we see in you what you can't even see in yourself. We believe in you. We know you're going places and we want to be right there on the ride. And so those are the kinds of connections that were made right here at Murray State University. Lifelong friends that mean the world to me. So I offer those two simple words tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And truly, I am working to hear two simple words, and that is well done. Thank you.
Well, I don't know about you, but I think Oprah's got nothing on Dr. Young. Before coming to Murray State University, I worked at Hopkinsville Community College for several years and had the blessing and the pleasure of working alongside Dr. Young and some of the colleagues that are at the table with her in honor of her tonight. And it really was truly a blessing, and I'm just so proud to be here and be a part of recognizing her storied career. So with that, let's give one last round of applause to all of tonight's 2022 distinguished alumni.